Prepping America. Ready for anything.
Ready for anything, Thomas? Good to see you. You're working on a Sunday. The show's being recorded on a Sunday. I'm in Florida, Sarasota, supposedly in the eye of the storm target on Wednesday. If I'm lucky, I catch my plane for Tuesday afternoon to go to California. That trip was planned a couple of months ago, so we'll see what happens. I can assure you from Hurricane Ian that hit me 2 years ago that no matter what flooding and surge it does, most of Sarasota and surrounding areas, Bradenton, Venice, we will be without power for a couple of days. So if I make it, if I make it to California, I will have power for a couple of days while most of Florida won't, which means I will be able to continue my show for my audience. Just throwing that out there, Thomas. Great to see you. Tell the audience what you're doing right now.
Right now, I'm in northern Arizona in the mountains, White Mountains. We're building an off-grid site at the moment. Fairly quickly, last week, we established power, water, used shipping containers, converted this in a base camp. I sent you some videos about it. So time is of the essence out here. Today, I established security for her because she's a woman who lives out here alone. Security cameras, floodlights, the whole 9 yards. So it's daylight now at night. We have massive power out here, 160 amps, off-grid power production. Running all the equipment. We don't need no generator. You may hear the nailing and all this stuff a little bit in the background.
That's great. Because this show is, in particular, episode 7 is called Disaster Prep because of the hurricane that somehow hit the mountains of North Carolina, West North Carolina, and eastern Tennessee. We want to show some of that footage and discuss it. Because if this happens in Florida and if it happens elsewhere, apparently there's wildfires now going on in Wyoming. Let's talk about what people can do, but let's take a look at this footage from Chimney Rock. And why was Chimney Rock hit so hard? It's a town of 140 people, but it had an earthen dam, an old-fashioned dam, probably very old, but I looked back in April, it was already seeping and leaking water, which means what? It was vulnerable to a 30-inch, 1,000-year storm, which is what Western North Carolina got. Here we go. Complete devastation. These houses were underwater, all of them. There is no infrastructure, except maybe the wires. Doubt they work. But as far as plumbing, sanitation, and water, Thomas, doesn't exist. I mean, look at this devastation.
Amazing.
Whoa. Look at that. People supposed to see that? No. The entire town, not only did they get drenched, but the dam failed clearly and turned into a lake. And now that the lake receded, we get to see what's left and not left. And there's a lot of bodies and stench I heard, not only in that area, but other parts of Western North Carolina. Thomas, unbelievable damage.
It's a lot of damage. A lot of damage.
And there's probably 1,000 dead and probably thousands more missing and eventually dead. But let's listen to what Joe Biden's got to say, because you want the so-called president to tell us what's going on. Here we go. Short video, 24 seconds.
I also convened my entire cabinet as part of a whole of government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be where we're going to use all the resources.
This is September of 2023, a year ago, a little more than a year ago. Listen this one piece again. Unbelievable.
The extreme weather events and be where we're going to use all the resources available.
So he literally had a faux pas there. He basically said, we're going to increase the weather events. Oh, you mean the manufactured weather events? That's literally what he said a year ago. So, Thomas, come on. There's been patents out there for 70 years on cloud seeding, on weather warfare modification, creating hurricanes, right? We know the dew lasers started fires in Lahaina, which were not wildfires or natural. I feel like we're at war, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's global warming, all right? Right?
Yeah. Well, let's listen to this audio file, because this audio file is a minute plus, but this came to me through Johnny Junko, and this is how really bad the situation is literally in. Oh, I can't play it. All right. This particular Zoom will not play that particular file, which is fine. Let me play another file, and I'll explain to the audience in a second, Johnny Junko, what he had to say. But listen to police here on Starlink, Thomas.
What I'm trying to do is get the Starlink into them, just because I want to make a point that they're literally the only reason that we can connect with our convoy is because we've got a Starlink sitting in the window.
State police admitting a little softly that the only reason they can connect with the convoys and supplies and things is because of Starlink. Without Starlink, there'd be no communication. Thomas?
Yeah, and I mean, look what we are, right? In the middle of nowhere, we have Starlink. We have Starlink everywhere on all these off-grid ranches, which enables us, what I'm doing right now, also our communication between us, because we don't even have cell service out here unless you have a massive booster system like at my place. But I still have Starlink. I use it. It's excellent. I tried other systems before. Nothing comes close. Starlink is really good.
Well, let's listen to what they got to say about Starlink, because apparently FEMA was intercepting Starlink equipment from reaching people. So if this is truly the case, FEMA is the enemy of the people. Understand what I have to say. Here we go. Very important for people to be awake about what's really going on in this world. And this was posted by Elon Musk, so I think it might be.
It's the sound of solace. Help is on the way.
We just kind of organized a private helicopter army to go in and survey the damage and extract people and take supplies in and just create landing zones for everybody to have supply routes in and out.
Matt McSwain is a pilot from Mount Holly and says he received a call from Operation Airdrop, an organization now working to shore up relief and rescue efforts for folks trapped in North Carolina's high country.
We've had 37 helicopters today, volunteers. We've had people from Texas to Maine, all the way across the East Coast, just show up and how do we help?
For folks who remember Katrina, there's the Cajun Navy.
Right.
I feel very much like this is Cajun Navy.
Yep, this is Redneck Navy.
Yep, there is kayaks delivering supplies and stuff, and there's some problems, obviously, with FEMA. FEMA now had to set up a brand new unit, Thomas. You ready for this? Called the rumor response. Literally, they're trying to take control of the messaging because their reputation is so damaged in the past week. FEMA is a joke to most people. They're a complete farce. Then we hear Mayorkas, the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. He said 6 months ago, we're ready for hurricane season. We got all the resources we need. And here, we're not even done with hurricane season. You got this one. Oh, and then we have Hurricane Milton coming in, and it's still not over. And so suddenly FEMA's not prepared. It's not financed. And, $66 billion have gone to illegal invader migrants, not even American citizens. And it's really creating a divide. Thomas?
Yeah, I can tell you, we don't need no FEMA out here. We'd rather rely on our own.
I like that. That's probably the smartest thing you can say. I actually agree with you 100%. Let's go to Alexa. Why is Alexa important? Let me find out. Here we go. Someone asked Alexa whether cloud seeding is involved. Let's listen to the answer.
Alexa, was cloud seeding used in Hurricane Helene?
From egettalk.com. To reduce the amount that can be paid out as compensation, Hurricane Helene was then artificially created, just like cloud seeding used to control and manipulate the weather, to flood and devastate those places and crash the value of land there.
Well, there you have it. Lithium mines trying to take control.
So FEMA's in there, in my opinion, to prevent this kind of messaging from getting out. But there's lithium mines, Thomas. There's quartz mines, Thomas. And I heard there's a lot of gold in that part of Appalachia. Thomas, go ahead.
Also, what I forgot to tell you, James, we had FEMA out here driving around these ranches here, locating the wells from the off-grid ranch owners. So the
Really?
people got, oh yeah, the people got really upset. They approached them and, what are you guys doing here? Oh, we're just looking in case we need water for fire prevention. Sure, absolutely.
Sure, absolutely. Well, let's go back on a little more on the geoengineering part of this. Here we go. This is from Dane Whittington. He's been on geoengineering for years and years and decades. One of the experts on it. Here we go, what he has to say.
Was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just the result of natural processes and climate patterns, or was it manipulated? The circular blue flashes seen in this video are frequency transmissions from the NEXRAD network of transmitter installations. All available science evidence makes clear that atmospheric frequency transmissions can and do have a repelling effect on air masses, especially if and when the air masses have been seeded with electrically conductive nanoparticles. The brighter the blue flash from a frequency transmission installation, the more pronounced and powerful the repelling effect on any air mass or storm in the vicinity will be. Where there are no blue flashes, there is no transmission, thus no repelling effect, thus no resistance for a migrating storm. Translation: a migrating storm will be hindered from moving toward frequency transmissions and will easily migrate in a direction with no transmissions. So again, I ask, was Hurricane Helene's path and behavior just an act of nature, or was it engineered?
Engineered all the way. So they can control the direction of a hurricane. And the sun has done that naturally for thousands of years. CME sunspots actually not only create hurricanes over the Atlantic Ocean, and Russian scientists discovered this in 2017, they can also steer hurricanes and they can amplify the size of hurricanes. So with Tesla technology, Nikola Tesla technology, they can certainly, with scalar weapons, increase the size of hurricanes. But now he's bringing up a different point. All of these NEXRAD stations all across America, they could actually become a buffer zone and force a hurricane to go in a certain direction. Thomas?
Yeah, it's pretty, I mean, it's amazing and scary.
Yeah.
Because that's really next level warfare, right? So if you can direct a hurricane into a specific target area, you can wipe out a lot of people without even using any military or anything on the ground.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And to the point of Johnny Junko, his audio file was simple. There was a plastic plant on one of the rivers near Asheville, North Carolina. The plant obviously got overwhelmed by the storm and by, I guess, erosion. And because it's on the river, all of their tanks, you know, their waste tanks got burst open, and all the chemicals went into the water. And there's reports of people with, you know, rubber shoes going into the water and coming out, and the bottom plastics of their shoes being melted off. So that water is highly contaminated. So people can't even drink out of the rivers. They can't even bathe in the rivers. Not that I would want to bathe in mud, but the reality is and you can't get fish in the river. So everything, the ecosystem up there is destroyed on top of everything else. Thomas?
See, that's why we do, right? We have our own wells, we have our infiltration systems. That's why we're building those projects out here. So we are fully independent, no matter what they throw at us. We have it covered here.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to get into our PowerPoint now, and then we'll come back with some of Thomas's videos on site. And near the end of the show, he will give us a tour of what's going on. Here we go. Yes, this is episode 7, disaster prep. What else are we supposed to say? We got 2 artificial hurricanes driven in election season, driven towards red state Republican hideouts, right? So they were northeastern part of Augusta, Georgia, all the way into western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee. Now it's coming from the entire west coast of Florida, which is highly GOP. All of the blue Democrats live on the east coast of Florida. And I've never seen it in my life, Thomas, a hurricane form at a dead stop right off the Yucatan Peninsula where Chichen Itza is, Cancun is, and then suddenly able to grow in mass, and now is going to be steered and come across the entire Gulf of Mexico and hit Florida. Never seen that in 60 years, never heard of anything like that, but that's where we're at. So here we go. Cullen Smith. This is much more sinister than a lithium mineral grab. It certainly is, because there's also gold in those mountains, and all of that massive flooding on top of the mountains have done what? Have uncovered a lot of the gold and washed it where? Down the mountain. So no wonder FEMA's in there. They're keeping the American people out of there. They don't want rescuers. They don't want suppliers. Why? Because they are witnesses to what is actually happening in this land grab. And we have BlackRock, we have Vanguard tied to these mines, a lithium mine. There's a quartz mine up there as well. Thomas, this is war. And you got some resources in your area, don't you?
Yes, we do. We got helium. They tested for helium. They tested for CO2. We're sitting on one of the largest helium reservoirs in the United States.
Yep.
They found oil, which is known in the Navajo Rest. They have massive oil production going on. But I think I sent you something recently, which is very odd. Google Earth so far did not have clear images from this area.
Yep.
Since they found the helium, you can zoom down now on these off-grid ranches, even 3D. You see literally my drill rig at my place. You see every road. And then we had a very weird thing we encountered on Google Maps. There was an entire area, which is in one area somewhere in the back of the ranch. I would say a 250-acre area blacked out.
Yeah, and they didn't. Right, we showed that about 3 weeks ago, and it was
right.
They painted clouds and cloud shadows literally on the spots they wanted to cover up.
Right, looked like a cloud, but wasn't.
Yeah. So anyone out there who denies God, well, go ahead, knock yourself out. And all of this destruction, the only structure here I see, is a church. So the Sunnyvale Baptist Church, Buck Creek Road, Marion, North Carolina. Sometimes all you have is faith to stand upon. So yeah, I recommend people that are suffering, prayer is good. In fact, they found, not necessarily in this church, but another church, they found 200 people alive that were like without, for 6 or 7 days, without communications, without access. They couldn't get out of the area. They just huddled together. They've been rescued. 200 people alive in a church. So don't mock God, don't mock the church. More powerful than you think. Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, I have this conversation very often with my wife, right? She's a very deeply believer, and my kids too. And I grew up in Bavaria in a little village where everybody's Catholics. I know, it's definitely a good thing if you believe in God. And I just had this conversation with my boys. I said, if everybody would listen to what the Bible has to say, whether you believe in God now or not, right? But the world would be a better place. Period.
Yeah. A lot of great lessons in there on how to behave as a human. That's for sure. Now, Thomas, this is in your neck of the woods, I believe, down in the western part of Arizona. But this is a Chinese missile launcher with Chinese lettering on the side of it. And what's a missile launcher being trucked around Arizona highways for? I don't know. But it doesn't mean the Chinese own this, or do they? So this is on a flatbed. We don't see the flatbed here, but on a flatbed tractor trailer moving this missile launcher around. I just find this whole thing very interesting. Headed to California from Arizona. What's this all about, Thomas? Do you know?
A good question. I don't know. But I see a lot of military equipment getting moved down the railroads. A lot. All the time.
I could imagine. Yes, we are in end times. Their end times, not ours. But if you want to preserve your cash, your preservation, if you want to get out of the stock and bond markets, this is the best way to do it. Contact Bob Coleman's company here, Idaho Armored Vault, at 208-468-3600. Tell them you're referred to by James Grunvig, Gold, Silver IRAs. They do it all. Bob's got all the requisite licenses, been in business 32 years. It's never too late. We're now learning that the rate cuts by Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve a couple of weeks ago, thought to benefit Biden-Harris, is actually going to accelerate the blowing up of the economy. So get ready, people. Food prep. Well, do we need to remind everyone about food prep? Let me just say this. The ports have been settled. And the whole story of the ports we'll cover it on another show. But the ports were settled within 3 days. But the night before the port, I went to Target and bought a lot of extra water. And the cashier behind me, the older guy says, "Hey, what's going on? Everyone's buying water today." I said, "Oh, the ports are going to close." Well, guess what? It's raining here in Sarasota today, tomorrow, Tuesday, and a hurricane, massive hurricane's coming. Everybody is buying everything. The difference between me and them is I already got 3-4 months of food in my garage. I already got 3 or 4 months or 5 months of water. I am not in a panic mode. And I got toilet paper and paper towel and all that other stuff out until 6-7 months into next year. The stuff that has shelf life forever, essentially. I have plenty of it because I've been expecting to crash, and I wasn't expecting 2 hurricanes back to back, but that's what we got. In fact, in Florida, Thomas, the restaurants that are trying to be remodeled and fixed and cleaned up after the storm surge destroyed all of the beautiful keys: Siesta Key, Longboat Key, Lido Beach, Bradenton Beach, Clearwater, Reddington Beach, St. Petersburg, all the way up the coast, have been destroyed, and they're trying to rebuild them. And now they know that another hurricane is going to be a direct hit. So now with storm surge, but now with tons and tons of water. We didn't get water last time. When Helene passed Florida, we got 12 hours of wind, 1 hour of water. Now we're going to get 12 hours of wind and 12 hours of water, and that's a whole different animal. And so they're getting hit a second time. I live 15 miles inland at the east end of the county, and I'm not going to be that impacted, but better, I'm going to be actually on a plane out to California. So I might be fortunate enough to escape a blackout if it happens. Thomas?
Yeah, it's definitely not a good thing down in Florida. I think I told you I was down during Hurricane Irma.
Yep.
It was not so great. But the biggest issue was actually not the hurricane itself. It was the lack of supplies, and people really panicked. We were right in there in Irma, and we seen literally the freeway like a massive parking lot. People ran out of fuel and out of water and this and that and the other. We had our big Class A motorhome, so we didn't have a problem. But it was really the supply situation which caused real trouble down there. We were close to Lake Okeechobee, and it was a disaster down there.
Yeah, it's a total disaster, I am sure. Let's get into, I got some videos from the construction site the past week. I know you poured a lot of concrete on Friday. That's why we're recording on Sunday. But let's get into some of these videos of what you're doing right now at the property. Prefab walls, Thomas. Here we go.
Okay, the prefab walls are going up for the powerhouse. We built those walls already last year. So now this stuff goes up. Doesn't take long. And the first framing for the first structure is there.
And we see your sister there in green shirt. Thomas?
Yeah, she's here. Yeah, she's helping. We're building this for someone out here. We're doing it now as fast as we can before the winter is here. So we have a ton of people right now out here, a lot of manpower. What I built in 2 years, we literally tried to accomplish now in 8 weeks.
And you're going to do it. I know you. You're very 6-7 days a week. This is what it takes. Whatever it takes to get it done. It's that simple. Let's go to video 8, solar panels. Oh, the solar panels don't just magically, charge power. They need wiring. Here we go. Your sister under. And if it's in German, you can translate when the video is done.
Mal, die Yvonne lernt jetzt Gartenlandschaftsbau verkabeln. Jetzt haben wir ihr beigebracht, wie man Voltmeter benutzt, ja. Ich habe gesagt, sie soll die Zunge nicht hinhalten an die
Bleib bei
Dinger.
meinem Dreck. Mein Dreck ist besser.
Jemand macht lieber mit Dreck spielen.
Thomas, talk to us about what you and your sister just talked about. Go ahead.
I told her because you know my sister does construction, right?
Yeah, she cracks the whip on you. I know. Go ahead.
Oh my God! Holy cow! So I said, hey, now you finally do some real work, some real nice stuff, wiring the first time in her life. I showed her how to use a voltmeter. I said, don't put the tongue on those, you know, like with the 9-volt batteries in the past. There's 100 volts coming out of those things. And she was like, nah, I'd rather play in the dirt than doing this kind of stuff.
I love it. That actually is great. All right, next video. Hold on. Power pack. This is a 220-minute video. Let's go.
Okay, after 2 days working the butt off, L16s, AGMs, 18 kW, 160 amps output power. Here, again, this is just temporary. This is just now literally like a lab setup. So we have power on the construction site. We use this here in the shipping container. I will install now some lights here. We put some real quick shelvings out here so we can put construction plans up and not being always in the weather. And finally have some power out here. Everything is temporary. That's what's off grid. Establish power and water. First thing, or nothing is moving. That's the construction site. Oh, it's raining a little bit. Those are the solar panels. This is just 1/3 of all the panels at full deployment. Those are 580 watts each, 49 volts, tier 1 industrial grade. There we have the temporary input. There we have a power outlet here we installed. Temporary. Oh. So we got some 20 amp outlet. I got to install another 50 amp outlet. Everything is temporary, so we can move on here. We built a little building here for the water pump. So water is established all the way to Kelly's RV. Construction water with a valve, so we have water pressure on the construction site. And there comes the Julian doing some whatever he's doing. And it's raining. Oh, bad weather. That's why we want to have a nice construction trailer container, so we can work inside and have the plans and whatnot all inside. There's the Julian. The Julian.
He's in from Germany, right, Thomas?
The Julian.
Yes.
He's hiding. Here.
All right, I want to hold on a second. I want to. All right, so what are we looking at here? Hold it. This black box. Talk to the audience about what this is.
This is an industrial grade inverter, which is hooked up to a 48-volt battery system, which then is hooked up also to an MPPT controller. That particular inverter, again, the entire setup is temporary, just laying on the table right now. It will be all installed later in the powerhouse. But that inverter is capable of making 160 amp. So out of the voltaic system, 240 volts to 120, single phase, split phase, whatever. You can set it up for European, for US, 50, 60 hertz sinus wave. Very powerful inverter and has the capability of handling a surge up to 60,000 watts. So with that thing, you can weld, you can run massive air compressors, you can run your electric dryer, definitely your hair dryer, no problem. Your toaster and whatever you want. Right now, we need it here for the construction site, as well as Kelly had a lot, her generator running to power the RV. That's done. We pulled the temporary power down there, just power and water pressure like she would be on a regular RV site now.
It's amazing. So I love this panel box. This is an electrical panel. It's a breaker box, obviously. We usually see it on the wall, but here it is.
Correct. Even if it's temporary, I build everything by electrical code. Everything has breakers. Every outlet is secured with a breaker. The entire system is grounded. So even if it looks still like a mess, just sitting unscrewed a little bit on a workbench, it is set up like a true system, the way you're supposed to set it up for a permanent installation.
Let's talk about the blue box in front of us.
That's called an MPPT controller. That particular controller has two controllers built in. So two 80 amp MPPT charge controllers. This thing is charging actually these L16s. Right now we have 8 of them set up. At full deployment, we have 24. So it gives you an immense amount of storage capacity, more than you normally need. But you should, if you design a solar system, you want to have roughly 70% access power for bad weather, cloudy days. So those tier 1 panels, they will pump out still enough, even if it's fully overcast, to power this entire site up once it's fully deployed.
And the white box.
The white box is called a combiner box. The combiner box uses all the solar panels, DC, combines it. There's a lightning arrestor in there, lightning surge protector. There's fuses in it. So everything is secured. So you cannot just take those cables and yank them right into the MPPT controller. You want to do this properly. So if there's any questions, we're always willing to answer this. Go on our website and we get in touch with you.
Love it. All right. What a great design. Now let's hold on. Let me go outside. Hold it. I want to find it. Oh, no. Hold it. I'm there. Coming. All right. I'm looking at a little spread footer. Concrete. How much concrete did you pour on Friday?
We poured 30 yards, 3 trucks.
That's 3 trucks. That's a lot. That's really good. And you know, how far is the plant from your site here?
Oh, the plant is roughly 65 miles. Then the trucks have to go off-road. Very complicated to get these concrete trucks in. So we literally had to assist with F350s, F450s, tow ropes, all kinds of stuff. So very complicated to get those trucks even to the site.
No, I got it. And then the concrete was still fresh enough to pour, right, when it got there?
Yes. We had last year a real disaster. We had 2 trucks stuck, and we had to pour 20 yards of concrete on the road. That was it. They were 8 hours stuck.
Wow, that's stuck all right, because concrete sets up pretty fast. That's great. So you got it done in a couple hours on Friday. I'm glad to hear this.
Finally.
Yes, indeed. All right, it's really good. Let's go to the next video. Floor trusses. Here we go. So you get this built prefab, right, in some factory. Let's talk about this.
Okay, good morning, gentlemen. So we unloaded all the floor trusses for Kelly's construction site. Everything is ready for pour. Today we're here was like 2 trucks, tons of equipment. First thing we're doing right now, we're building a construction office very quickly. So we get this stuff here a little bit more organized in there. So we have stuff for the drawings, and now we're establishing electric, voltaic, temporary electric and water pressure on the construction site. So a lot to do. Work never ends. Water tank is set, and here we're plowing along.
So your client's progress, is she happy with what she sees so far?
Absolutely. She didn't expect, she was kind of frustrated last year because she thought nothing moving. And it's hard to explain someone who comes from California, from the city, that what takes the longest is the infrastructure. To get all the materials on site, just to get them out here, we are 18 miles off the pavement, right? I mean, I showed you some videos. It goes very steep up hills through sand dunes and all kinds of things. Just to get all this stuff to the construction site is a challenge in itself. And then building the entire infrastructure, like your septic system and all this kind of stuff. So you spend first a lot of money and you don't see really a lot of progress. And now she sees how quickly, once it's all organized and it's all set up properly, how quickly this thing comes together now.
Yeah, it's really good to see. Hold on, let's pull out the next video, and then we got 2 more you sent me today. We will get them up as well.
My sister likes to yank with the chainsaw. So here's the powerhouse structure. Building the floor. That's where later all the power gets generated. Water pressure, the shipping containers go on those foundations. Then the carport will be built here, made out of steel. And that's where the voltaic system gets fully deployed. 32 panels, 580 watts, 16.5 kW power. That's all happening here. So those shipping containers will be moved, going on those foundations, get welded together, and there's already the foundations for the carport with a span steel beam going in the shipping container. All the voltaic system off-grid I recommend to build with steel for grounding, lightning strikes, EMP, and other nasty things which may be thrown at you while living off-grid. So that's just a regular building, 19 by 12. And that will be bottom, top, walls, everything chicken coop wire to create a Faraday cage as well. Since we had 6,200 feet elevation, the lightning strikes are pretty severe out here. So we have a ton of voltaic systems destroyed out here because people don't ground their system properly. There's my sister. She just loves to play with big toys.
All right, let's talk about grounding here. We'll go back to your sister in a minute. So you ground through your containers, right, Thomas?
Yeah, so we build a massive structure with these 2 containers. They go on these concrete footings. The powerhouse is attached to it. Then the steel trusses going across, and those containers getting with big round bars 8 feet in the ground, grounded, and as well with a grounding rod. So it's really imperative that you ground your voltaic system very, very well, which a lot of people don't do. We had lightning strikes out here half a mile away, and people's voltaic systems fried. They underestimate the strengths of a lightning strike. If you Google it, you can measure lightning strike on the other side of the earth. It's not harmful, but that's how powerful the strike is. So it does not need to hit that system directly to damage components at all.
It's amazing. So it creates like a kind of EMP effect, does it not?
Correct. And it's pretty severe. I had a guy calling me today. We had a lightning strike. My fans in my greenhouse are out. Is this possible? I say, absolutely. So the motor's burned up.
Yeah, well, lightning strike will do that. So you know, look in the background on the left side of this video here, we see a bush next to the container. The container's the highest point. You're on a plateau. All the green in the background, that's low level stuff. So like, you know, we grew up in New England and New York and Pennsylvania, those places. We got, you know, tall 100-year-old trees and stuff. They get 90% of the hits. Of course, there's lightning rods on these houses. You need 2 per house by electrical code. You need them more than 16 feet apart. In Florida, there is no basement. So we have a concrete, slab on grade. And then we have 2 rebars, like you mentioned, one on one side of the house, one on the other side of the house, more than 16 feet apart. So if a lightning strike happens, they can ground. But here, your tool shed, your container, is the tallest structure in the area.
That's correct. Besides later the house, but it's the tallest structure. But a shipping container in general is a full Faraday cage. So you don't have to worry about anything what's inside a shipping container, or even the way we built that powerhouse will be at the end a full Faraday cage. Mine is made out of steel. My entire framing is out of steel. On this construction site, due to the fact that we so under time pressure, we frame it regularly like you would frame a regular house.
Yep, got it.
Systems destroyed out here because people don't ground their system properly. There's my sister. She just loves to play with big toys. I mean, you could also use maybe a little smaller saw to cut those little beams off. But I guess she likes the chainsaw.
Yeah, she likes a chainsaw, and I love the knee pads. I mean, she serious business in construction. Don't mess with your sister. I'm going to just say that.
You know, normal people use a battery-powered hacksaw. She yanked the chainsaw to cut those 2x4s off.
Absolutely. This is just stunning, right? Just love it. So talk about the proper way to ground out in a desert area like yours. Talk to the audience. Go ahead.
So what I normally do, I mean, I build as much grounding as I can, but then I do a ground probe. So I actually test the grounding, how efficient is the grounding down the road?
Yep.
Do we have almost like a 0 ohm ground resistance? I check for load imbalance on the inverters. So L1 to ground, L2 to ground, L1 to neutral, L2 to neutral. It should be all the same. So what a lot of people do, because they come from the residential construction, so they use ground and neutral together in the load center, in this breaker box you see.
Yep.
It's against National Electric Code because the code states very clearly the only place where those two can be combined is at the source of power. So where does the source of power in a voltaic system happen? In the inverter. The inverter has a relay inside because the inverter does inverting and charging. Yep. So as long as it's inverting, it puts ground and neutral together. In the moment it flips into charging and hands the power over to the generator, it opens the relay and hands the grounding and the neutral over to the generator. So it's very crucial to do these things right. I caught a lot of these projects. I saw a lot where the building inspector put his stamp on, approved. The people call me, say my inverter fried. What happened? So I look, only thing I need to do is open the load center, say, there's your problem, right there. You can't do that. It is very crucial since you're off grid. In the city, your transformer station, your power company does all this for you. Out here, you got to make sure that you have to set up properly. And a lot of people, they kind of rink-a-dink these solar systems together. They run for a while, but then they start failing, and then they wonder why. Sometimes it's wise to just read a little bit how this really works and how it's supposed to be done.
I love it. Let's play. You got 2 more videos, and we'll have enough time for you to take a little tour for the audience, which I think will be great since you're on site. Okay, next video. Here we go. 32 seconds. Looks like they're building a shed to me, Thomas.
What?
Looks like they're building a shed.
Correct. That will be the powerhouse. That's the building which goes the shipping containers go on it, and then in the same angle, everything the same, the carport gets built right next to it, so it becomes one massive unit, exactly like it's built on my place.
And you have a little slope in the roof, and is that for a snow load? Because you do get snow in Arizona, don't you?
The snow load on the solar panels, those things are incredibly strong. Actually, I calculated the angle of the most efficient angle for the solar panels out here for summer and winter time. If you look it up on Google, like what they recommend, it's actually false. I mean, those solar panels, those tier ones, they don't care so much whether it's 5 degrees or 10 degrees off or whatever. The problem is that your sun shifts between summer and winter. So I calculated an angle and a position where you have the maximum duration, because the duration is what helps you. The night is your enemy. So you want to have sun up, sun down, maximum duration exposure, summer and winter. And that's a medium what we're building here. So you do not have a long period of time where you have to feed out of the battery bank.
That means 365.25 days a year. Love it, Thomas. Let's go to the last video. Then we'll talk about the last video. And then we're going to have a little tour from Thomas, which I think needs to happen.
Okay, day two of framing and building the powerhouse. Now the roof comes on. A lot of hands on deck now again to get this powerhouse ready. That's the structure. It's day two from the off-grid site. We want to have this building today dried in and finished, windows, doors. So that should all happen today. Siding on it, and then it's just insulation and make it pretty.
Yeah, so this happened pretty quickly, like because we had all the walls pre-framed last year already. We stored them in the shipping container. That's this entire building. I think we did now in 2 days. It's 220 square feet. They're right now working on the siding already. They're finishing the roof off. And because she has some tents out here still where she stores some stuff. And those tents don't last out here very long. You have 60, 70 miles an hour wind. So I told her next week you bring all your belongings there in this powerhouse, because we're not using it right now. We first finish now the house, and then we continue building this powerhouse and put the voltaic system on. Once the shipping containers have been moved, the carport is built, then we start wiring everything finally. So do the final wiring and the
You'll
final
use that for
installation.
temporary storage for your client. That's really good. Good to hear.
Yeah, I have to work here a little bit with the objective. She lives on site, right?
Yeah, I
So
understand that.
she needs a certain comfort here as well.
Yep. So we got about 4 minutes in the show or so. Go ahead if you like and take the audience for a tour.
Okay, here we go. Nice blue sky, right? Arizona sky.
Beautiful day.
It's almost every day here. You hear all these guys hammering. German-U.S. collaboration. So there it is. There's that powerhouse. They gotta watch that I'm not falling over stuff here.
Yeah.
A lot of material on the ground. Here's my sister again, terrorizing everybody. She doesn't stop. I tell you, my boys worked last time 10 hours. The nail gun finally got damaged as it got thanks, so we can finally stop working.
Otherwise, they'd go for another 2 hours. I hear you in that.
There's my boys.
There they are.
One down here. Emo. One on the ladder. There's John hammering, getting the roof done. And then we can go very quick over to where the house will be built. That concrete foundation. The stem wall is partially built because that was done last year. So the concrete trucks, they got stuck. And then my sister decided to build partially the stem wall till the rest of the concrete is delivered. So we're not wasting any time. So that's pretty much the stem wall for the house foundation.
Oh, and you're using a CMU, concrete masonry block there. I see it.
Correct.
That's hurricane code.
Yep, everything. There will be the pony wall with spot foundations. That gets a little bit higher. And then the floor trusses, you saw they coming across. So we actually have a wider drench than needed by code. We have more concrete in there than needed by code.
Yep.
So we build everything stronger than needed, actually.
Well, that's good to hear. And you got this rebar up in different places.
Right.
A lot of equipment here. This is off-grid building.
This is off-grid building, and this is how you should do it. And I mean, we have a lot of people. They really have a wrong understanding about off-grid tents and wagons and this and that. So these are these concrete foundations I'm talking about here. So that's where the shipping containers will go, and they go right on this building. And then from these foundations, on top of the container goes a steel truss over here, where a steel post goes in, and that gives one massive, like, roof structure, whatever you want to call it, where all these solar panels, 32 or 36, I'm not sure right now, get then put on, and it's all fully grounded and extraordinarily strong. When the building inspector out here saw the first time my stuff, he said, "Are you nuts? What do you want to put on there, a tank?" I said, "No, I want it to last."
Yeah, no, that's good. That's really good. It's a great tour. So people, it's not just Florida and it's not just North Carolina and parts of Georgia and Eastern Tennessee, and it's not just Wyoming. Disaster can happen anywhere. You can lose your power for a week with a solar flare. There is many things. Everyone in this country, no matter where you live, don't think you're out of reach of a disaster. You are absolutely a bullseye, no matter where you live. And if you live outside a city, you should really think about supplies. Thomas?
We recently talked about it, James. I mean, if you would have just a shipping container with the power equipment we have in there, and you have your own well, okay, then there's a hurricane. You go in a container. You can make a single container into a really, really nice small house, right? Like,
yeah,
very
temporary.
small. It's not very big, but temporary. You can go in there. You close the doors. Those shipping containers are not going down, no matter what. If they're on a concrete foundation and anchored down, not even a tornado will yank those things over. There's no way you destroy a shipping container.
That I agree with.
Right. If you build windows in there, you put proper shutters on the outside, you close the shutters, you are in there like in a bunker. You have nothing to worry about.
Yep, I agree. And this is important for people to know. And shipping containers are essentially, when you buy them, they're already built. All you're doing is, you're funding a secure foundation. You're doing the interior renovations to it, depending if you want a storage area or if you actually want a livable area. So it's all up to the individual. Thomas?
And you can make them really nice. I mean, they even have now insulation material, which fits right in the corrugated metal. It just gets glued on. It has plastic stringers in it, so you can screw your stuff on it. It goes actually fairly quick to convert a shipping container in a living structure. That my background here, which we have on our website, is a fully designed home out of shipping containers. You don't recognize anymore it's a shipping container.
No, exactly. Right. It's sort of like, I don't recognize I have CMU wall on my new house here built 3 years ago.
Right.
To a hurricane code. I have no idea. Right. But it is. And my house has gone through 3 hurricanes already. And we're going to get number 4 next week. The good news is I'm far inland, but I have friends and other people who live close to the water, and they're going to be fully evacuated. Once it's a Cat 3, it's automatic evacuation up and down the Florida west coast. Thomas?
What's Cat 3 miles?
I forgot, Tom. I had hold it. We're here. Let me go on to the internet. Here we go. Hurricane categories. Okay. What do they actually mean? Oh, you don't give it to me immediately. Cat 1, 2. Let me read Cat 3. Devastating damage will occur. In the Category 3 hurricane, winds range from 111 to 129 miles per hour. This is a high risk of injury or death to people, livestock, and pets from flying and falling debris. Nearly all older mobile homes will be destroyed. So mobile homes have really no chance, but container homes, nailed down to a concrete foundation slab, you're good. Even well-built frame homes, apartments, and industrial buildings will likely experience major damage. The storm will uproot many trees and blocks roads. Electricity and water will likely be unavailable for several days. I agree with all that. All I'm going to say is my new community is all the houses here at Hurricane Code. I made the choice. I wanted a pool, and I didn't want to spend an extra $100,000, so instead of taking a lake property for $98,000 in the fall of 2020, I took a smaller property for $22,000. But that differential of $78,000 allowed me, or $76,000 allowed me to buy the pool, buy the spa, buy a high wall with a waterfall, and then had a little extra for interior finishes, upgrading interior finishes. So that covered it. The real interesting news, by not having a lakefront property, and there are 2 giant lakes in my community, is the wind shear from these giant open lakes. We're ripping up all of the screens to what we call the lanai, or the cage where you swim. You don't get the bugs in. I have no such problem. My lanai, my screens have gone through 3 hurricanes, no damage. So there's a difference, Thomas.
Yeah, why I was asking about the categories, because we have regularly out here 80, 90 miles an hour winds in spring, and in the winter time, I have 6,200 feet elevation, right? It's in the mountains, period.
Okay, so tropical storm goes from 75 miles and above, right? Then it's a hurricane. So you're at hurricane force winds, likely category 2 at 80 or 90 miles an hour.
We've seen some of these pre-built sheds, like the tough sheds.
Yep.
They literally, like, they exploded out here. Wind got in, boom. All the pieces are laying all over the place.
Boom. All right, Thomas, close out the show for the audience. Tell them to get serious about prepping, and that includes your money. Turn it to gold and silver. It will never go to zero, right? Not only your money. Talk to them about prepping for a disaster. Go ahead, close out the show.
Yeah, so I mean, we all can still pretend like nothing is happening on the planet right now, and we all can pretend, oh yeah, it will all be okay. I just have one question, guys. What is if it's not okay? And I don't want to be caught with my pants down.
Nope.
I can fairly easy look forward to whatever event, whether it's Russia or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
Inside the country.
Banking.
We are still banking, whatever it is. So, I mean, smart people, rich people normally put their money in commodities, right? And not keeping it in cash in this nice IOU bill, which has 100 numbers on it. It's worthless. So, and most of the people, they believe, oh, it somehow magically it will be okay. I mean, if we look at all the facts, I think I told you, guys, we're getting manipulated left and right. I would highly recommend to keep my ears open, my eyes open, get proper information, get ready, get prepared, because everybody knows really and feels it in his gut. Something is wrong here. Something is going completely off the rails, right?
Yeah. I'm going to be in California next week. We will get either a prepping show either next Friday or the following Monday. Just be patient with us. We're going through a lot. Tom is working his tail off. I'm in the middle of traveling to California and come back to Florida to see what happens. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. Get ready for disaster wherever you live. Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Prepping America. Ready for anything.